What's up, you guys? Welcome back into iHeartRadio's official wrestling podcast, the Battleground Podcast. It is Battle from 105.9 The Rock, along with my tag team partner, Eli. And, man, I got to tell you, we are super excited. WWE is making their return to Nashville a day after my birthday at the Bridgestone Arena for Monday Night Raw, which you will be able to watch it on Netflix when that happens in Nashville. Tickets are on sale right now, Ticketmaster.com. And today we have a very special guest on the show, the honorary Oos himself. Give it up for Sami Zayn coming on the show. Sami, how are you, sir?
Good. Appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Man, we are super excited to have you on the show, and let's kind of just jump right into this. You know, we're hot off the heels of the return of Saturday night's main event this past Saturday night on NBC. Let me ask you, how are you feeling after that hard-fought match against Drew McIntyre?
Well, a little beat up, if I'm being honest. You can actually see it on my face here, and my back's a little jacked up. I'm not 100% at the moment, but I mean, it's always kind of tough when you're in the ring with Drew McIntyre. He brings it. I don't really have the best win-loss record against him, actually. I actually have no wins over him, shockingly. But every time you get in there, you really test yourself against somebody like that. So paying the price a little bit physically now, but still feeling good, all things considered.
Yeah,
and he's a beast too. So yeah,
he really has stepped up his game over the past few years as well. So as much as like I dislike him or whatever, you still got to give him some respect. There's no question.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You know, at the end of that event, the main event was Cody Rhodes successfully, defending his undisputed WWE Championship against someone Kevin Owens. What are your thoughts on that match and the fallout of that match?
I mean, pretty crazy to see the package pile driver on WWE TV first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
And, I feel like I used to take that move a lot.
Yeah.
My neck is not so good nowadays, and it's probably better I haven't taken that move in a long time. But it just like, it was almost like seeing a ghost, you know what I mean? Very strange. It was like a memoir of a past life. So that was, I don't know, that for me personally, just seeing that was kind of a bit of a surreal moment. And then, I don't know, the whole thing was a little surreal if we really stop and think about it, considering we started together some 20 years ago in little church basements and community centers in Quebec. To all of a sudden see him standing Saturday night's main event, holding the Winged Eagle title over the champion. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of surreal when you really stop and think about it, which sometimes, I'll be honest, we don't always get to stop and get that perspective of how crazy it is that we're here or where we're at in our journey. But, I think sometimes, I'm sure he would say the same about me, but seeing it with Kevin sometimes opens my eyes more than when I'm doing it myself. Cause you're on your own little path and you're on the hamster wheel and you're focused on what you're doing. But if you're lucky enough to have someone who's been with you on the ride from the jump, like I have Kevin, or he's got me, it's like this constant reminder. Like, man, I remember that guy when he was here. Now he's doing this, it is wild. It is wild. It's a crazy story. And I don't know. I'm just watching like everybody else to see how it pans out now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the one thing that we saw, like you said, I didn't think we were ever going to see the pile driver ever again on WWE TV. Let alone
championship.
Yeah. Let alone seeing the Winged Eagle Championship. And now Kevin Owens has said that he is going to defend that Winged Eagle Championship at upcoming events. One thing that we are very big fans of on this show are belts. So if you could bring back, I know we've seen the Winged Eagle come back. If you could bring back one of those titles from back in the day, is there a certain title that you would like to bring back to WWE television?
I know a lot of folks, I'm probably not unique in saying this, but a lot of folks have an affinity for that early 90s Intercontinental Championship.
Mm-hmm.
The classic one that you think of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect. A lot of people have an affinity for that. I know Cody Rhodes brought that back several years ago. Actually, I think I was the one who retired it. I gave it when I was managing Shinsuke Nakamura. He held that title, and I was like, all right, out with the old and with the new. And I actually introduced this new championship. And I like the new championship, but, people just have a special place in their hearts for that one. So I wouldn't mind seeing that one back. But actually, a championship that I really liked was the old WWE World Tag Team Championships.
Oh, yeah.
fan of those ones. And I know the ones over on SmackDown currently kind of have a little element of that to them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They kind of have a little bit of, right? It does have a similar shade.
Got that little like
a little
that
bit of that flair.
oval, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. But I was partial to the late 90s tag team championships there. I thought they were really cool.
Yeah, those are some of my favorites as well. Maybe one day, we'll see some new we'll see some of the old come back with the new, especially now we finally got the Winged Eagle title back. Maybe a European title might get thrown into the mix every now and then.
But you know what? In 20, 30 years, they'll be like, remember the old WWE Championship where it was just the logo? God, those were the days, So,
remember that WWE Championship when it was a red strap and there was a blue strap, and then it's now just we love titles on this show. We love it. So you look at what's happened for the past month. I mean, you survived War Games, followed by your match with Drew McIntyre. Let me ask you this. How do you maintain a positive headspace with the ups and downs of life on the road of a WWE superstar?
You talking about in the ring or out of the ring here?
Both,
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an insane balance, to be honest, because it depends on how close you are, first of all, to your work, and how much I don't even want to say how much you care, but how much of your time outside of work where you allow work to penetrate your mind. And there are some guys that are really good, like when they're at work. And I think I used to be like that. When I was at work, I gave everything I had. And then when I was at home, I was just at home. And then maybe in the last 5 years, I would say, once I started getting a little bit more creative input and actually seeing the fruits of some of these creative ideas come to fruition, see these ideas actually become a reality, it got kind of addictive. And then you start thinking more about like, oh, imagine we did this and imagine we did that. So all of a sudden you're just spending more of your personal time imagining what you can do at work. And again, that varies from person to person, right? And then there's the busyness of the schedule, which is, I'm not the first superstar to talk about how tricky that is, especially with a child at home. It's been a little better lately. It was definitely very tough a couple of years ago when I was doing the Bloodline stuff. Again, that's something that's a different side of the curtain that I don't think anybody will know about, but that was a crazy grind that time period. The Usos and myself and even Solo kind of getting thrown right into the fire there. The schedule at that time was really, really demanding, and it was a really challenging time for me personally, just because, I had I had a child at home and my wife was dealing with it all alone. It was really tough, but what can I say? You kind of plow through and hopefully get sunnier on the other side. And thankfully it has, but it's always a struggle. That's just that's the name of the game. And it's funny because that actually, I feel like this all kind of came up in a promo with Drew McIntyre just on TV, which I actually don't even know if it's aired yet, but it'll air probably by the time you show this. But some of that stuff came up because Drew, his character now is talking about, bringing in some of the personal stuff about how when he was home, he got this clarity and this perspective. There's a lot of truth to that. When you're off the hamster wheel for a minute, you start to see things really differently. I don't know. I guess it's a long way of saying nothing because I don't. Yeah. Real answer for you here. It's just tough, and it's all whatever you're placing importance on at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
So would you say that the highs are higher because of the schedule and the demand, and then likewise the lows are lower?
I would have almost always agreed with that, but recently I would say for the first time, I kind of experienced something not long ago where during a low, the high was marred by the low, which case it used to be for me. Like, you're right. It's low, it's low, it's low. But then when you get that high, you feel it on a whole other level because you're coming out of something lower. But then recently, during a kind of a tough time, I did something that normally might have given me an even bigger high. But then I was just like, I don't know. Didn't feel it the same way I would have felt it. And I was almost started questioning myself, like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Something broken here? What's going on? But whatever, man. It's just, it's on a long enough timeline. Again, 22 years in the game now. There's been a lot of ups and a lot of downs. And I think you kind of just take them in stride and don't let the highs get to you, and you don't get the lows you just don't let them drag you one way or the other, and you kind of maintain an even keel. I think that's really the best perspective to have. Like when that Bloodline stuff was really firing off and everyone's like, oh my God, this is the best story ever. And you're at the center of this great story. And it's the best. I was just like, oh, okay. And then when really a few years before that, when I wasn't really being used, it's like, oh, they're not using you right. And, you don't let that pull you too high up or too high down, because that fluctuation, man, it's never ending. So if you're going to let that stuff shake you or get to your head, you're in for a rocky ride.
Yeah.
You really need to have an even keel, like zoomed out, long view kind of perspective, I think, when you're in the game for a long time. And especially with WWE, there's a saying, and I don't know if it's been said to you guys or not, but internally there's this idea where it's like, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
I think you see that on nowadays it's different from the late 80s or early 90s, where guys' runs really weren't that long.
Yeah.
Like even The Rock or Austin, some of the biggest.
Yeah, I was going to say, look at Stone Cold.
5-6 year run, they're in and out. Like I've already had a longer WWE career than both those guys put together, actually, which is shocking.
Yeah.
It's like it's not normal. It's out to have a 13-14 year run in WWE if you compare it to the 80s and 90s. But that's the name of the game now. So nobody stays on top for 15 years straight. It just doesn't happen. And if you do, you're that one person out of millions of people. So you just can't let the ebbs and flows get to you. You really got to long game, you got to have that perspective, in my opinion. Otherwise you're only going to hurt yourself mentally.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, one thing no one can stop talking about is WWE's big move to Netflix, right around the corner, a couple weeks away. We already have confirmed Seth freaking Rollins versus CM Punk and Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for the show. With this kicking off not only a new era for the WWE, and it's also the start of the road to WrestleMania. What are you looking forward to on this historic event, and what are you looking forward to as your 2025 starts?
Well, just to give you a little bit of insight, I suppose, to just the heaviness of just the two matches that you listed between you and me. I know you guys are not dirt sheets, as you prefaced by this interview by saying that, but I will tell you, I heard rumblings about both of those matches being WrestleMania matches. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they're on Netflix, the Netflix premiere, tells you what a big deal this is. Mm-hmm. Like, two of those matches could have been the culmination of year-long stories at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Both of them are good enough to be WrestleMania matches. And they're on the premiere of Netflix. So it tells you what a big deal it is that we're moving there. And, WWE, say what you will about them, they go all out when it's time to go all out. And they're going all out for this Netflix thing. I don't know how it's going to change the game, but it is definitely a game changer. For the first time ever, Raw is just not on conventional television. It's crazy. But then when you start to actually look at the numbers of people that have switched over from cable to streaming services, it's actually kind of the majority, especially on a global level, right? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be reaching more people than ever. And it's hard to predict what that means.
Yeah.
In WWE, again, pulling the curtain back a tiny bit here, but I feel like you're always saying like, oh, it's just a crazy time right now. But then I realized a few years ago, I was like, I've been saying that every year for the last 8 years. Like, it's always a crazy time.
Yeah, it always.
In the mix of some crazy new transition to some new big things. So I just don't even know what to expect, but it is a particularly crazy time. With us moving to Netflix and all this stuff and all these, like, the change in the landscape of even how we operate as a business, where it's like more media focused than it is live event focused. That's brand new. So there's just so many changes going on. And like this 3 weeks in Europe on the road to WrestleMania, this is all stuff that was unfathomable a few years ago, it's crazy. It's a crazy time to be a part of WWE right now and being in the mix. It's very interesting and very, Yeah, uncertain but excited.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, we're pretty excited. WWE returning to the Bridgestone Arena February 10th. You could grab tickets now, Ticketmaster.com. And real quick before we let you go, we always have some fun at the end of our show. We turn to Chat GPT to ask our guest a question. And this actually kind of culminates from what me and my son do. I have a 7-year-old and we watch wrestling a lot. Like, he is a big wrestling fan. He always sends something with me to these interviews to said wrestler. And we have gone down the Sami Zayn rabbit hole of wrestling shows. And so he sent this with me to show on the show. And he was like, can you show that? And then he sent some action figures as well. But what I want to know, this is from Chat GPT, as someone with experience with wrestling under a mask, who is your current favorite masked WWE superstar, not named Rey Mysterio?
Yeah, you have to take him off the
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's not many, are there? There's really, who is there? There's Dragon Lee and there's Rey Mysterio at the moment.
Axiom and NXT.
Right. I mean, if you take Rey off the table, I would say Dragon Lee, but Dragon Lee, I mean, he genuinely is a very interesting and exciting prospect. Again, you have to look at it as a marathon, not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in a few years, given the right opponents and the right conditions, I think he could turn into something really special. But Rey, I mean, you're talking GOAT status there. There's no one even comes close. So it is an unfair question because
that one from Chat GPT. But I know that time is limited with you. But again, it's an honor to have you on the show. My 7-year-old super excited to have you on this show as well. Like I said, he sent all kinds of trinkets with me to show you, but he was like, make sure you show this and the other things. But thank you so much for taking the time out. We look forward to seeing you in Nashville, Bridgestone Arena, February 10th for WWE Raw. Ticketmaster.com. Go grab your tickets. Before we let you go, you want to say anything to people watching or listening to this right now?
Well, say thanks to your kid, first of all. Tell him I say hi. I appreciate it. I just appreciate the fans supporting us for so long, supporting me personally. And Nashville in particular is a great city, always been a great city. This is going to be a big TV because it's the first time we go there in this Netflix era. So I'm excited as anybody to see what the energy is going to be like. It's already always a very high energy show when we come to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be doubled by the fact that it's like streaming on Netflix here. So I don't know, come out to the show, keep supporting. It doesn't go lost on us. I definitely appreciate it.